Welcome to another episode of Cadence Fishing TV, and today I'm fishing on the beautiful River Dee in Wales. I'm fishing just upstream of the village of Carrog, and I was up this way last week doing one of our Cadence Open evenings in Wrexham, and I met some of the guys that are in the fishing club here, and they kindly invited us along today to come and fish for the Grayling. It's a very prolific stretch for salmon and trout and sea trout, but also famous for Grayling. And a bit different today, I'm going to be float fishing for Grayling using worms, something I've never really done before. Obviously, a lot of the time I fish with maggots when I'm trotting for Grayling, but on the upper Dee, maggots are banned, so you can't use them. So bait-wise today, all I've got is some worms and some sweet corn. And I had a walk along this stretch with Mervyn from the club last week, so I've familiarised myself with the different pools. This is one of the bottom pools, and it's called the signal pool. And I'm going to go and try just off that point and trot my float down here. So it'll be an interesting learning curve, fishing worms on a float, but we'll give it a go. Well, this really does look like a fishy spot. This is kind of an island here, so I had to walk round to come onto this point. And the way I'm going to approach today is be mobile and rove along and try basically all the different pools along the stretch. And the float I've set up's a Crowquill Haven. It's 3AA, a very simple rig. I've set the depth around about 3.5 foot, and I'm just going to run that down. So obviously if the float pulls under like that, I'm fishing too deep. I'll just try a little bit further out. So yeah, that's definitely too deep, so I'll just shallow up a bit. The river's a couple of foot up, but it's nice and clear, so conditions look really good. And the fishing right at the end of October definitely feels a bit autumnal. There's a fish. Doesn't feel like a massive fish, but it's a fish nevertheless. We'll have to see whether it's a Grayling. I'm guessing I'm probably going to hook a few trout today, fishing with a worm like this, but just took the worm about halfway down. Oh, it is a Grayling, great. Just a small one, but that's a nice start. Always difficult to hold Grayling. See if I can hold him up for you. Beautiful silvery Grayling that is. So that one was only about 6 ounces. It's nice to get off the mark. I'm actually using a whole red worm on a size 13 hook, and most of the time Grayling feed on the bottom, hard on the bottom, So that's why I'm using this bolt shotting pattern to get the bait right down to the fish, and I'm just sort of easing the float through the swim. I must admit, I thought it was a bit deeper in this pool, but as I say, it's only about 2.5 foot deep, so I probably won't give it too long here, so I know there's a few deeper pools further up the stretch, but I'm going to give it another go and try just a little bit further out in the flow. It's kind of strange fishing like this and not feeding. Keep going to feed some bait. Well, this looks like a nice spot. There's a sort of a bit of a slack area here with a nice flow going over towards the far bank, so it looks perfect for trotting a float. To start with, I'm just going to try in the sort of crease between the main flow and that slack water. So yeah, float fishing like this is just a great way of exploring a stretch and also understanding all the different pools. I think today that the Grayling will probably be just on the edge of the main flow, and I like the look of this bit of a back eddy here. Like all fish, I think Grayling, they tend to shoal up, so it's really important to keep moving and trying different spots. But I think this is just a fantastic way of fishing, just trotting a float on a beautiful river like this. I know they catch some really quite big Grayling in this part of the Dee, so it'd be lovely to catch one of those. I don't think there's many coarse fish up here. I know they catch some dace a bit further downstream, but according to the guys, it's very much a game stretch. And it's just trying in the actual slack, and it's a bit deeper there, so just shallow up a bit. Oh, there we go. That was just almost sort of laying on in the slack there. Doesn't feel like a massive fish, but yeah, it's another Grayling anyway. Well, that one's a little bit bigger. It's having a good fight in the flow. Here he comes. Way, nice one. Well, that's a beautiful Grayling. Probably about 14 ounces, 12, 14 ounces. They're ever so difficult to hold, so I just want to be gentle and hold the lady of the stream. Whoop, nearly went back then. Well, no more bites, but I'm going to have one more run down and then I'm going to go and try a bit further upstream. Well, 2 fish in 2 spots, can't be sniffed at. So I'm really enjoying myself and can't wait to go and try the next pull. Well, we've walked up about halfway up the length now and I've fished quite a few likely looking spots, but I thought I'd just take a break and show you the gear that I'm using today. So rod wise, I'm using the CR10 15-foot zero. Now I've gone for a longer 15-foot rod. Obviously the Dee with this water on is quite a big river and it just enables me to be able to search out all of the swim very easily and control the float really easily as well. The Zero's got a beautiful soft action as well, and when I've been playing the Grayling it's been great fun playing the fish, and also I've had little fear of pulling out, so that's why I went for a softer rod. The reels are CS10 3000 and I've spooled that up with this Edge Tackle 5-pound float mono. So that's got a diameter of 0.18. It's a lovely line for float fishing as the name suggests. Very, very supple, floats very well, and it's strong as well. So that's been the main line today, and hook length I'm using 0.15 Pure Fura premium mono. Obviously I'm fishing with worms, so perhaps fishing a little bit heavier than I would do if I was using maggots. That's got a breaking strain of just over 4 pounds, so that should be strong enough to land even the biggest of Grayling. Hook wise I'm using a Camazan B711 micro barb, and that's a great size hook for fishing with the worms that I'm using today. Float wise, I bought a small selection of floats. I'm travelling light today. The float I'm using most of the time is this 3AA topper float. It's a Croquill Avon float made by Drake Floats. I love fishing with Croquill Avons like this. It's a classic design but totally proven. Very easy to cast, they're very lightweight, so when you cast the bulk dominates the float. You don't get that situation where the float and rigs cartwheeling and creating tangles. Nice visible tip, quite sensitive, and it's just a perfect float. So I've bought some different sizes. That's a bigger 7AA one. I haven't had to use that yet, but maybe if I fish some of the deeper pools and try and fish out towards the far bank, I'll use a bigger float like that. And I've also bought one of these wire stem Dave Harrell Avon floats as well for fishing. If I want to trot right down my peg, it's got a more visible tip, and also the wire stem's quite good if I'm fishing in a really boily peg. But so far I've just stuck with the Croquill Avon, and I'll just quickly show you the rig. So this swim I'm fishing is quite deep. It's about 6 foot deep. I've got a fairly short hook length, I don't know, around about 12 inches down to that 11 hook. Just above the knot for the hook length I've got a number 6 shot, and then I've got the bulk quite close really, I suppose, I don't know, 1.5 foot from the hook. My thinking there is, I mentioned it earlier on, the Grayling are often feeding near the bottom, so I want that bulk to get the bait down to where the Grayling are going to be feeding. It just helps me control the float and keep the bait down in that sort of killing area where the fish are. Obviously I'm having to change it depending on the swim. Some of the swims are quite shallow, just 2 or 3 foot deep, and some of them are sort of up to 8 foot today with the with the water on. Just a note really about fishing a croaker laven and the shotting pattern. You normally want to fish a positive rig like this. If you start spreading shot out, not that it's really necessary today, because obviously I'm not loose feeding anything to try and catch anything on the drop, you'll get tangles. So a very simple rig like that is really imperative when you're fishing with a croaker laven float. And I'll just show you, I went and got some nice red worms from a muck heap yesterday, and I'm just basically nipping the head off a red worm, and then I'm threading the hook into the worm and pushing it in as far as I can to kind of disguise the hook and also provide a very natural type of presentation. So I'll just show you that. So you can see the hook's kind of hidden by the worm, and that worm's really reacting very nicely and quite tantalizing really. So that's it, very simple fishing, but it's proving effective at the moment. I've also got some sweet corn which I haven't tried yet, but I might try a piece of corn just to see. But as I mentioned in the start of the video, you can't use maggots on the River Dee on the upper river. So a different type of fishing really, but I've really enjoyed it. Been very relaxing and great fun, just sort of exploring all the different swims and enjoying this fantastic scenery.
I could sit in this chair for 1,000 years and watch the woods consume the neighborhood, watch the ambitions come and go, surround me and engulf me. We could ditch the TV and spend a little more time reading books and singing songs on the porch, sit here watching the daylight wane, leaving little trace and even less memory. I just want to be still. I just want to be still. Sometimes I wonder if I'll ever be free of these things that are weighing heavy on me, that keep me from doing or going on, knowing the sun comes up, I go back to sleep. In our so-called liberation of self, we have only bound the shackles more tightly. Free up your mind and start thinking a good thought. Free your mind and be still. Free your mind and be still. Free your mind and be still. And be still. Time has brought us up to this point, it will carry us far beyond it until we are nothing. Sometimes I feel like we're just words on a page. Close your eyes and be still. Close your eyes and be still. Close your eyes and be still. And be still.
We can see this pool, the there's some shallows upstream and the flow comes over and hits the far bank, so I'm guessing that's where the main depth is. But just looking at the nature of the swim, I think that the grayling might just be hanging this side of the main flow, so I'm going to trot my float just this side of the middle and just have a little exploratory run through. If it doesn't drag under, then I might just go a bit deeper. But the float I'm using is 3AA Crowquilhaven, and that 3AA is heavy enough to get down. But I think if I wanted to fish in the main flow out there, I'd need to use a bigger float. But I'm just going to persevere with this area, just this side of the main flow. And just every so often I'm just trying to slow the float down a bit and just lift the bait off the bottom. In this autumn sunshine, I think the colour of the trees is absolutely beautiful. It really is a spectacular spot. Looks like a good spot, this. Well, I couldn't walk past this spot. There's a bit of depth below this tree. It's kind of created a bit of a hollow before it shallows up, and just had a lovely fish, biggest of the day. This one's definitely over a pound, so I'll just quickly show you. Look at that, absolutely beautiful, gleaming in the sun. They're so hard to hold, grayling, and I don't want to damage it, so I'm going to get it back, but that's absolutely made my day. Well, I had a great scrap off that fish. Let's get him back. Off he goes, beautiful. Well, I've been joined by Jonathan Moores, and Jonathan, you're the vice chairman of the club, aren't you?
That's right, yes.
And the club is Wirral Game.
That's right, Wirral Game Fishing Club. It's based on the Wirral, as the name suggests, but we have numbers of waters across North Wales.
Okay, great. And obviously this is a beautiful stretch on the River Dee, and what's this stretch called?
So this is the Ragat Hall beat.
Yeah. And it's been a fantastic day so far. This is perhaps just past middle on the stretch, so it's a very long stretch. And I understand that there's an online booking system for members to book the fishing.
Yeah, that's right. The club has a number of waters on stretches on the Dee, the Clwyd, the Elwy, as well as a club lake and rods on Brennig. And it's a mixture of water that we own, water that we rent, and also rods on syndicate beats. So that booking system enables us to manage those syndicate beats, but also to ensure that the number of rods each day is limited on all of the stretches, so that members never find anywhere crowded.
Well, that's fantastic, and I understand this is a 5-rod beat, is that right?
It is, yes, that's right.
So obviously we're fishing in the closed season for salmon and trout, which I guess a lot of the members would target in season, and we're targeting grayling. You don't tend to have many coarse fish. I don't think there's any coarse fish here, is there?
No, there's just the grayling, which, as we were saying earlier ourselves, is an odd fish in one sense, in that it's a member of the salmon family, but it spawns at the same time as coarse fish, so the coarse fish close season applies to it.
Well, we've had some beautiful fish so far. They really are spectacular fish. And what sort of sizes have you had them up to?
Well, personally, I've had them up to just over £2 from here, but £3-pounders are a very realistic possibility, and indeed, good sized £3 fish from this area of the
That
Dee.
would be amazing to catch a fish of that size. And when I was here last week, I walked up with another one of your members, Mervyn, and he was explaining, because this is the first time I've ever fished a Welsh Dee, that the Dee flows through various reservoirs and Lake Bala and is somewhat controlled. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. There's a number of reservoirs at the head of the system, and Bala Lake, as you said, and also Grayling, which is a lake that we have fishing on in the club. And all of those are used to control the level and make sure that there's water available for extraction for drinking water down both at Chester and also at the Horseshoe Falls, where water is taken for the Shropshire Union Canal.
Fantastic. Well, we've got a nice height today, and the water's quite clear, so I'd say it's pretty perfect conditions. I have seen a salmon, so I think I'd definitely love to come back and fish the Dee again. You explained there's some good pools. There's some good pool just above the wires, and also at the top. Is it the railway pool?
Yeah, that's right.
So I think we're going to go up and fish that. I'll continue trotting with worms, and then if we've got time, might have a go fly fishing later this afternoon. What sort of tactics would you be employing today to fish for the Grayling with a fly?
Yeah, so normally during the winter it's a mix of check nymph type tactics when it's particularly cold, but there's always a chance, if there's a little warm spell during the afternoon, a little bit of sunshine like we've just got a bit peeking through at the moment, that you can get a fish on a dry fly. You just need to be ready for if the fish switch on for a short while.
Well, I'm itching to get back fishing, but I just want to thank you and the club again. Thank you so much.
Great. You're welcome,
really had a
James.
fantastic time, and hopefully try and catch another Grayling.
Great. Good
Thanks
luck.
a lot. There we go. See, that wasn't too far out, was it? It's not a monster, but it's a fish anyway. Great one. Well, Jonathan was spot on about fishing the railway pool. I've had 3 or 4 beautiful grayling up to about 10 ounces. There's even a few rising now. But I think we're going to call it a day. I've ended up with around about 10 beautiful grayling on this absolutely stunning stretch of water. We're going to leave the club details at the end of the video, and maybe I will have a few casts on the way back, but thanks for watching.